Playoff picks round 1 here, Joe. There is an outstanding lead here. Oh,
I pulled it a little bit on your. Obviously, there's not enough time for me to close this thing out.
You can't catch up.
But I kicked your ass in G5 conference games 2 weeks ago. You suck that.
Yeah. Screw the G5. Penn State versus SMU. Both of us going with the Nittany Lions here, Joe.
I do not see a world where SMU is going to be able to have organized offense consistently in this game. We saw that their offensive line was completely overwhelmed throughout the entirety of it. They were immediately seeing pressures every single time that Kevin Jennings dropped back. Abdul Carter is going to have a field day. And then the other thing that you brought up during this preview is that I really think that Penn State, even though they don't rely on their passing game often, is going to have a field day. They are going to have a huge day. The line right now on this is on Bet Online is 8.5, I believe. I'm pulling it up right now.
Take it.
Go bet on that. Bet on Penn State to cover. They're going to kick the shit out of them. Anyone who wants to bring up, well, James Franklin doesn't do well against top-ranked teams. This is not a top 5 Ohio State or Michigan team. This is the 11 seed SMU team that barely got into the playoff. They're going to kick the shit out of them.
Everybody outside of Ohio State, Oregon, maybe Michigan. What was his record? We pulled it up that time. Remember, it was like 90.
Yeah, it's against all of those teams specifically. This is the type of game that James Franklin is going to roll, and they're going to blow him out.
He was winning 95% of games not without those teams, right? It's not like he was losing astronomical to other bad, like below teams.
Yeah.
I'll say this, though. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm with you, but if Jennings runs and goes off, it's going to be interesting to see how they contain that. It's one thing to prepare for it. It's another thing to see his speed on the field now. Just telling you.
Right.
I'm just telling you, anytime you got a quarterback that can move like that, well, Notre Dame and Indiana, both of us going with the Irish.
The line on Bet Online for this game is -7. Notre Dame covering that spread. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Indiana doesn't cover that number. I think this game is going to be super low scoring, snowy potentially, really cold weather. Both teams are going to try and run the football. But where Notre Dame has the edge and where their edge should prevail, and it was why they lost the way that they did to Ohio State. The team with the better athletes is going to win in this situation. Indiana is really well coached. They're feisty. But when it comes down to the fourth quarter, the team that has the 4-star and 5-star athletes on it is going to outlast the opponent. A team of mostly G5 come-ups that have all played phenomenal. I'm not disrespecting them. They've all played fantastic football this year. But they are just not on that same plane as Notre Dame, that Notre Dame should be able to finish this thing out.
You called me while I was pouring water and
oh, sorry.
And had myself on mute here. I'm with you. I just still think, and this is going to have to happen because you said that you would take Indiana to cover. Is that what you just said?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, then if that's what you believe, there's going to be critical moments where Riley's got to throw the football and he's not able to complete it. Is that fair?
Not completely.
If you're saying it's inside of, okay, you mean to tell me that they're covering the spread? That means that they're driving down the field to go and score late at the end of the game, and Notre Dame makes a stop. You're
yes.
literally putting it that close. So then that would mean that Notre Dame is unable to move the football in the moments.
Actually, I think that realistically what's going to probably happen is that Notre Dame's going to try and control time of possession. They're going to run the ball like they do. And Indiana scraps their way back a little bit towards the end. And that's how they end up backdoor covering. This feels like it has a backdoor cover written all over it. I don't think it's going to be duke you out, punch for punch, blow for blow type of a game.
I'm answering Cody.
The Ricky Collins.
Well, it's not a national newsworthy thing. So, yeah, I mean, I could see that. I'm with you. All right, Clemson and Texas, both of us going with the Longhorns.
Another game that I think is going to be a blowout. Texas to cover the 12. The biggest thing on Bet Online, the biggest thing for me is the trenches. I do not think that Clemson's offensive line is going to be able to hold up against this pass rush for Texas. This is the definition of a game that Sark is going to kick the crap out of a lesser opponent. I'm a little wary. Playoff Dabo is real. Playoff Dabo is very real, but I'm sticking with Texas here to cover the 12 and for them to win.
I'm telling you, now they might get blown out, and so playoff Dabo might not be here. However, the first year they got to a national championship, a lot of people thought that they couldn't do it, and they kept getting to a playoff. He was upsetting teams he wasn't supposed to beat. Alabama. The bottom line is, I'm really interested to see how Texas responds, and then a Clemson team that has new life. The reason I'm not so bullish on Texas right now is because, number one, I've seen you play down the level of Vandy. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen you be in a situation.
It's regular season, though, so it's fair. It's a fair point to bring up.
Okay. Last postseason.
Well, they almost came back.
Almost and coming back are two different things. Their secondary got torched, and I got to be real with you. Klubnik can sling it better than most quarterbacks that he's seen all year. There, I said it. And so I know that you're one of the top passing defenses in the country. No, I saw Gunnar Stockton go 12 of 17 on you too. Joe, they haven't truly outside of Georgia been tested. And Georgia's style of football is not what they're going to see here. I'm picking Texas to win. But look, brother, they're not the SEC. If you remember, I said, look, if they lose, they're 10-2 in the regular season. They're out. Like they haven't shown anything. Quinn Ewers is a big thing for me here. Quinn scares the shit out of me in every game that they go into because I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, he's got to play good ball.
Got to, man. I mean, this is the playoffs. He played bad ball last year.
Wait a minute. Are some of these games on TNT?
Yes.
What the fuck? Since when? How am I just finding this out now?
Well, you should have known this. We talked about this when Dellinger reported. Okay, we don't have time for this.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
But basically when Dellinger said the thing about the compensation on TV rights and all that, and they had to be flipped. Yeah, y'all's game. I think y'all's game's on TNT, right? Or Penn State.
No, that one's on ABC. The Penn State.
I saw that ESPN. This is the first time ESPN's airing a Notre Dame game specifically at home since like 1983.
Yeah, that hasn't been on NBC. By the way, you want to know the funniest part about all this? That I'm looking at it. I know that we got to get to the last game, but the FCS playoffs are on ABC, and the Penn State SMU game, which is at the same time, is going to be on TNT. That's ridiculous.
I mean, it's not like if we don't want to watch it, that we're not going to go find it and watch it.
No, I know, but like if we're talking about like order of operations and of most importance, let's hit this last game before we wrap up here.
All right. We can do that. Ohio State and Tennessee. Joe, I am going with the upset here, and I am taking the Tennessee Volunteers. You were taking Ohio State.
I think Ohio State's going to prevail in a close game at home. I think that their pass rush is going to be a little too much for Nico to handle. That secondary is going to be a little too much for him to handle. But I do believe that they're going to cover the 7.5. This is one of my best bets of the weekend on Bet Online, 7.5. I think that Tennessee will cover here because their defensive line is so freaking good going up against that really messy Ohio State offensive line that's banged up at the current moment. That has a ripe situation for this to be a 3-point win for Ohio State late. At Neyland North, by the way. And Neyland North.
At Neyland North. Joe, I'm going with the upset for one big thing here. You ready? I think that Ohio State's biggest weaknesses are Tennessee's biggest strengths. I do. I think they're going to go in there, and it's going to be overwhelming of how much orange is in there, and I think they're going to go in there and win.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.